The Valley has a major challenge that most of us do not like to think about. There are more homeless teens living here than even during the Great Recession. Las Vegas has the third highest homeless teen population behind only New York and Los Angeles. Tonight, you'll meet two young men with extraordinary stories of their life on the streets and how they pulled out their downward spiral. Escape is how some of us cope with our demons. Find something, anything that will take our mind out of those very dark places. If you're a young person, alone in this world with no family to count on, maybe it's a skate park where you find some peace. Rocketing off the ramps, staying one step ahead of what haunts you.
I felt like I was nothing. I felt like I was just a lost soul. I could be dead and no one would know.
It was so traumatizing because I didn't have friends. I didn't have nobody to talk to. I didn't have nobody to call on. It was just me. So it was very depressing.
Alienation, shame, but also hope and resiliency. Those are the themes running through the lives of two young men. They can tell us a lot about the problem of homeless teens and the breakdown of families in the Valley.
We come out here to Vegas, no nothing, like no apartment, no money, no nothing. So we moved with my grandmother.
Marquand and his mom eventually moved to this North Las Vegas apartment. It did not take long for Marquand to realize that his mother's downward spiral that began in California was accelerating.
She was coming off some very traumatic things. She picked up an addiction, which was crack. And then moving to Vegas, she picked up another addiction, which was gambling. Everything was bad. Like, it'd get to the point to where I come home, my mom wouldn't be there at all. Nobody would be there, just be me in the house with no electricity sometimes, no food. So you gotta kind of fend for yourself.
The image most of us have of the homeless is the streets. Marquand had a roof over his head, but when you consider that was the last place he stayed, you can see how having shelter is no guarantee of safety. Marquand was determined to move forward. He got into CSN. His mom took interest in the $2,000 financial aid check that came their way.
For me, I just felt like if I give her the money, at least I know she's home. At least I know she's safe.
What was she doing with the money, do you think?
She was getting crack.
Damn, why doesn't nobody help me? Why doesn't anybody care about me?
This skate park became Eric's refuge after his mother was deported to Mexico. He and his siblings tried to stay together, but eventually they were torn apart as well.
Did you ever have to spend a night out on the streets?
I would either be at a McDonald's, like I said, on my phone, all night. You knew where to sleep.
What he didn't know was how to keep his demons at bay. Thoughts of suicide.
Man, I'm a depressed kid. I'm a sad boy. I have bad vibes. I shouldn't involve myself too much with people because I'll just make them feel like I'm just sort of an evil person.
The alienation only intensified after Eric was offered false hope. A friend invited him to live with her family in Pahrump. Her grandfather kicked him out a few months later. When you were being sent back to Las Vegas, did you feel like you were returning to
hell? Yes. I was just a lost soul. I was nothing. I felt powerless here. There was nothing for me here.
the demons?
The demons, yeah. The suicide thoughts, all these different feelings.
And in his situation, adults were a big part of his abuse and his struggle. It kind of ruined his identity and his individuality and who he thought his personality was.
Arash Ghaffori knows a lot about Eric and Marquand. He's the executive director of the Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth. The building is set up as a home with the goal of getting teens out of survival mode and start them on the journey of living independently.
We don't want this to be a transactional environment where it's all business, get in and get out. This is their home. And if you look around, the whole place is designed to look and feel very much like a home.
The numbers of homeless are growing. Ghaffori says this isn't just a poverty issue, but a severe breakdown in families.
We see youth staying in an emergency shelter who are children of celebrities, children of doctors, children of very prominent lawyers in town.
We brought Marquand to the North Las Vegas Library where he spent a lot of time. It was his escape from the cold truth that his mom's addictions were growing and their housing situation was day to day.
I was looking for somewhere to go every day. It was nonstop trying to find somewhere. And I just couldn't find anywhere that was, kind of stable. When I hit the search bar on Google, NPHY numbers pops up.
You were about to go into the emergency shelter. Your mom called you and wanted one more chance, and you said, okay, come get me here.
She didn't feel that me being by myself was going to be beneficial to her health, because she was going to worry about me. So she wanted me to go with her. So I waited here for like hours on end. Like it got to the point where I thought I was going to have to sleep in front of the library. That's how long it took her.
That might have been safer considering where he wound up that night.
Roaches everywhere. It was people smoking crack, being loud, getting drunk. And then it was worse was they had me sleep in the living room. You got people coming in and out at all kinds of times of the night. You got people slamming doors, turning on lights, yelling, still getting high when you're trying to sleep. When I get to the emergency shelter, I was so relaxed. They put clothes on my back that I didn't have. It gave me a love that I needed because I was in a dark space. They gave me somewhere to feel safe. I could smile again.
I have to die, I had those feelings, like I didn't see my mom around, I didn't see my sister, my brothers, I didn't see anybody around. I was alone and I had my friends, but my friends sort of had their family. So I was just sort of in a little corner, just like, I felt like people would look at me as a rat or as a dog, a stray dog.
Eric's tipping point happened after a job selling hoverboards in San Diego fell apart. He returned to Craig Ranch Skate Park. He sold marijuana, Xanax, and opioids to get by.
And who would you sell to?
Well, just random people, Let's say people at the strip, people walking around, people here in the skate parks.
A Metro officer took notice of Eric's activities and confronted him. That's what set him, reluctantly, on the path to help.
I was like, you got this, you got this. You're not a bad person. So swallow your pride, swallow your pride and make sure to let these people help you, how you would want someone else to accept your help.
At the basketball court at the Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth, there's a mural designed by the residents depicting their lives before and after NPHY.
These youth just want to chase their dreams and achieve those, and that they look at NPHY as a step in getting that direction.
What we didn't tell you about Eric is that he has a passion for soccer. He's working 2 jobs and wants to enroll at UNLV with the help of a soccer scholarship.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to keep us posted on how you're doing.
Of course.
Do that?
Yeah, I'll do that, definitely.
All right, my man. Good job.
Something like that, NPHY.
You wouldn't know what Marquand had been through if you ran into him on the street. What with his infectious laugh. He's made a new friend and roommate in Tavon, a homeless teen he met at the shelter. Marquand keeps in touch with his mom, and he plans on going back to CSN to become a social worker.
I see places like this, places like the library where I used to stay, and I remember those times, but they are what they are. They're past memories, you know what I mean? I'm making great memories today, tomorrow, and for the future.
I don't think I'll soon forget you, and I don't think people watching this are going to forget you either. You can't.
You can't.
You rock,
I'm the money man.
You are. Thanks, man.
No problem.
The Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth's budget is $2 million a year. It gets 60% of its money from the public, the rest from the government. If you'd like to make a donation or even volunteer your time, we have a link to that on our website, fox5vegas.com.
You've been working on that for months. It really is an incredible story. Those 2 young men are resilient.
They really are, and that's what really struck me, is just the resiliency and all they've been through at such a young age.